turnover battle pretty badly here. They had 13 steals. You had 18 turnovers.
That didn't help. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry. Yeah, that definitely didn't help. It adds to their ability to get out in open court, which they are elite doing.
Right, you guys have given up 15 offensive rebounds in both of the last two games, and there were a couple tonight that seemed like they were just lack of focus, lack of effort. What are you seeing on those plays?
I think there's some of that at times. I think that stuff at the end of the third period was harmful. We go on a 13-2 run. You know, we have a turnover, and then to your point, we miss an offensive rebound on the free throw. Offensive rebounds hurt us when we played these guys in Los Angeles. You know, they really have a lot of athletes that chase balls, and we have to do better.
Did you get a feeling tonight that this game was more about defense than the last time you faced them?
The rhythm of the game was different for me coaching it right from the beginning. Like, you're trying to assess TJ and feel where he is physically and able to do what he does. You know, you're trying to determine where Timmy is and where does Rashawn have a place. And I really never felt we started playing until about halfway through the third period, where we sort of, you know, the gym balanced out and we ended up going with 7 guys and rotating that group. I think in general, the flow of the game and the feel of the game didn't take much shape to me until then.
Speaking of Rashawn, he had some really big buckets there in the fourth. How did you, you were also playing like Twin Towers sort of situation with Embiid. How did you see that working out in the end?
I think he just gave us energy, and you are right. He scored. He scored, but I think the way that he scored was physical. You know, it was emotional. He and Joe were able, I thought, to play well with each other. It helped with the way that they were playing offense. We felt comfortable that there was a matchup for him. But I thought that his bounce and his spirit really helped us.
Brett, like 18 months ago, this team had to make a decision between, at number one, between Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram. Obviously, it's worked out pretty well for the Sixers. But what's been your viewpoint of the growth of Brandon Ingram watching?
Strong. Like, he really, you know, he really has a game that almost reminds you of like a young Durant. You know, he's that long, and he's got the skill package where he can dribble and pass with his height out of pick and rolls. And, you know, the shot that he made, that's a big shot. Good for him. But I think that his motor and his ability to play downhill lately has been the thing that has stood out most to me. It's a thing that people were uncertain about. You know, what's his motor? What's he going to be able to do from a physical standpoint in the NBA, because he's just a young man. And story has he grew a few inches, he's put on a few pounds, and he's playing with a great deal of confidence. He had a heck of a game. He's going to be a hell of a player.
Closing out the game, what do you tell these guys? This keeps happening almost every time you lose in close games. What do you tell them?
I mean, you're always going back to what can you do better execution. I thought we did well. Like, we clawed back in it. We played through Joel. We spaced. I'm proud of what we did. I think the last play, Joel lost the ball, you know, and it sort of went into a broken play. But for the most part, you know, we were down 16. And I think to close out the game and get back in it, we did what we had to do. The last play, we had a position where we could, you know, almost take the last shot. Joel did what he was doing. We lost the ball. And, you know, Brandon hits the three at the end. I don't see it at all being sort of the closeout stuff.
Right, you said that the game didn't really take shape until midway through the third. What did you see on both sides of the ball in the first half and up until that point?
Searching. I didn't feel like we played with a sting. I didn't feel like that our defense was at an intensity level like I wished it were. I think that the transition defense was a C-. I think that there were some offensive rebounding frustrations, but I think transition defense was the thing that stood out most to me. There were a few blow-bys that we had a hard time guarding them just on catch-go stuff. You know, Brandon had that baseline drive for the reverse dunk on Timmy type of examples. We got lifted a little bit too much on up fakes. You know, we weren't second off the floor. And so I looked at sort of a lack of sting defensively and not really a flow offensively. You know, I thought we were searching. Like I say, I stand by it. The middle of the third period, our defense allowed us to play with some fluid type of style. You know, we shrunk our rotations and tried to walk that down, and just weren't able to pull it through.
Played them twice in the last less than a month. What
Tom, say that again?
Haven't played the Lakers twice in the last month. What did you think of Ball?
I mean, he has an elite NBA skill. When you say what's your identifiable NBA skill, it's quite clear what he does. You know, and I can see how people will run for him, will run with him, because they will get rewarded. You know, I think that there is a speed that he plays with. There is a push the pace mentality he has. And I think he's lived up to that expectation with that elite sort of NBA identifiable skill.
Brett, you mentioned the lack of sting defensively to start off the game. Why do you think that was?
I think that we just were playing conservative. I think that, you know, we were trying to play, you know, fundamentally correct and conservative and, you know, keep the game in front of us. And sometimes, a lot of times, that just, you know, that isn't always the answer. And you walk that tightrope of, well, you lead the NBA in fouls, yet, you know, you want to play with a sting. And so sometimes they contradict each other. And I think somewhere in the middle is what I wish we played more of. And I think that that's part of growing our team. I think that we're 10th in the NBA defensively, maybe 11th as we speak. I haven't seen the last stat. We're doing okay, but we need to do better. And I think that our perimeter people, especially with somebody like Joel behind it, we've got to do better there particularly.
Before the fourth quarter, you guys had a few minor runs, but never really grasped the momentum, kind of had some things disrupted. Do you credit the Lakers, or do you think that's something you guys should do better?
I would say a little bit of both. I will say that when we did have some runs, to your point, like they made some tough shots. You know, I think Clarkson had some daggers. You know, Hart had that big three. I think Randall, you know, he had some catch-go stuff in traffic. You know, we did a good job of taking, what was it, 15 or 16 points, you know, and bringing it back to close proximity, and then they would come up with something that they had an answer. I do give them credit.
Kind of along the same lines, the 18 turnovers from you guys, the 13 steals by them, is that a credit to their defense or like? I
think a little bit of both. You know, I think the end, if you looked at, you know, JJ's play, he wished he would have that one back. That sort of seemed to just leave his hands. I think that their team, though, athletically is gifted. You know, they do have length. I think they're 8th or 9th in the NBA defensively. This isn't an outlier. You're looking at a really good defensive team. I think that with their size behind it, when you look at Lopez and Andrew Bogut, you know, there's some legitimate size behind that length and that athleticism. And some of it, you know, with the turnovers, you give them credit.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.